Hi.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Kellie Turtle, the Women's Sector Lobbyist.
And I'm Louise Kennedy. I'm a policy worker for Women's Aid Northern Ireland.
So we're just in Women's Aid today, making a quick video to review the work that we did last week for the Time to Commit campaign, where we took this document and the 3 key demands of the women's movement in the run-up to the election out to all the political parties to get their responses. Those have all been written up on the Time to Commit blog, which you are welcome to go on and have a read through to see what everyone said. But Louise and I, who were at all the meetings, just thought we would do a quick review.
Very quick review.
Just to kind of get across the key points that we were hearing from the parties. So Louise,
Okay.
we've got 5 kind of things.
Yes, we have gender equality, childcare, violence against women, abortion, and partnership working. And those are the main themes that we would have put to all the parties. We met. Which parties have we met? We've met pretty much all the major parties.
Yeah, we approached all the parties that had that were in Stormont in the last mandate. It was a very short turnaround, so we couldn't get out to all the other smaller parties that haven't held elected positions, but we did get to engage with everybody except for the TV, who didn't respond to our request. But the Alliance Party, People Before Profit, the DUP, the UUP, the SDLP, Sinn Féin, and the Green Party.
And did we say Alliance? We did say Alliance.
We said Alliance.
Yes.
So our first theme, gender equality, quite broad. We were looking at policy and law and things that are out there to protect gender equality and the stalemate that exists
Yeah.
on some of those.
And I suppose everyone that we talked to seemed very, very supportive of getting a gender equality strategy up and running, getting it out there, recognising that we don't have one and that work needs to be done on it, and being more accountable as well.
Yeah.
But I suppose that begs the question as to why is there a stalemate in the first place?
Yeah.
But I think certainly there seemed to be a lot of support across from everyone that we spoke to.
Yeah, definitely. I felt we had to do a little bit of educating, to be honest,
Yeah.
on that with regards to what the problems have been.
Yeah.
With the gender equality strategy, we had to tell the parties' representatives sort of, well, here's what the journey has been like on trying to get that move forward, and so maybe there's just a little bit of a lack of awareness across parties as to where those policies are at, and maybe that contributes to the lack of progress. So
Yeah.
it's definitely something I think we could all engage more with
Yeah.
on them.
Yeah, I
those
suppose,
issues.
as well, we mentioned about how women were kind of a bit absent from the programme for government as well.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that we kind of had to bring parties along. Maybe, it was something that, a lot of people didn't think about. It didn't occur to them, and then suddenly you maybe had this little light bulb moment. And I think maybe that's something that we, as women and the women's sector, maybe need to do more of. And not just coming up to election time.
Yeah.
All year round. And parties did say that as well.
Yeah.
A lot of candidates were saying, give us a ring after the elections, and we will be doing that.
Yeah, but definitely a lot of positive support there for making sure the gender equality strategy is renewed as soon as possible and not letting that slip off the agenda.
Yeah.
No opposition in anybody that we spoke to,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
So, number 2.
Number 2 was childcare. And again, it was something that across the board, everyone seemed to be overwhelmingly supportive of putting together and getting a childcare strategy for Northern Ireland out there. And different parties mentioned actions that they'd taken, debates they'd had, motions that they put forward. But again, it kind of begs the question as to then, if there's so much support, why don't we have one yet?
Yeah, I've been following this issue obviously as the Women's Sector Lobbyist, and keeping on top of assembly questions that are being asked and things like that, and it is one I can see a lot of questions coming through from across all the parties. I think in the last mandate, which is only a matter of months, there were over 100 questions asked in the Assembly about childcare. So yeah, it does leave you wondering why this hasn't moved on a bit more quickly.
Because it's years or maybe even decades, But do you think that with all the questions happening recently, that maybe there's an increasing awareness just of how pivotal this issue is, given that we have, after having austerity and all the rest of it, economic downturn, and then asking these questions, and then maybe thinking, right, well actually we have to think about childcare now.
Absolutely, and I think that was reflected in all our meetings. I think if we'd been doing this a year ago, we wouldn't have had so many party representatives going, childcare is the number one concern, you know, and I think that's something again that we need to build on after the election and not let that momentum go.
Yeah.
And the big issue I think that needs to be tackled next is investment. And when we were talking to the parties, there were different, that was where maybe there's different levels of support for the idea that, you know, what the women's movement would be putting forward would be there needs to be investment in universal free childcare. And there'd be a range of views as to whether or not that's possible. And I suppose we need to start working together with political parties on what the solutions are to make something like that happen.
Yeah, because it's not like we need to reinvent the wheel necessarily here. Northern Ireland is so far behind on the childcare issue, but we can just look to other countries. I'm not saying, you know, like one size fits all, but we can look to a lot of work that's been done in other countries to even just get an idea, do some research as to what our affordable childcare model can look like. And hopefully with the increased amount of concern about it and the fact that it seems to be rising up the priority list a bit across all the parties will mean that those conversations will be had. Of course, you know, we don't know what our government is going to look like as yet. So, and I suppose that's a caveat that we have to mention across all 5 of these, that we don't necessarily know, are we going to have a functioning assembly, and what, like I think a lot of parties, when we spoke to them, in fact all parties, weren't able to make specific commitments on things because they don't know what the lay of the land is yet, you know?
Yeah, it's a good point. And we were talking to some parties who've been in the executive who actually had opportunities to move these things on. Equally, we were talking to some parties who were the ones who were raising challenges from the sidelines more so. So everybody has had, you know, different experiences of this issue of childcare and what they were actually able to do about it. As you said, we've no idea what that's gonna look like in a few weeks. So, but certainly good to hear so much understanding, as you said, acknowledgement of how vital childcare is to women, to child poverty, to educational outcomes across the board.
And I suppose raised awareness of it in the parties, it's a very good first step.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Watch this space.
So third we have
violence against women. Yes, as part of our meetings we had asked about whether parties would support a lot of the work that's already been done before the Assembly unfortunately collapsed. And that would have been on a coercive control law, a domestic violence disclosure scheme, which is commonly known as Clare's law. Both of those things exist in England and Wales at the moment. And you know, basically supporting violence against women services. And again, I suppose it's quite difficult to say we don't care about those things. All parties said that they very, very much cared about that and would make it a priority issue. Interestingly, Women's Aid also emailed every candidate who's running in the election, whose emails we could get hold of, which was most of them, and we got an overwhelming response. Pretty much every party, and I know that you mentioned that the TUV hadn't got back to you, but they did get back. Some candidates did get back to us from TUV, Green Party Alliance, SDLP, Northern Ireland Conservatives, Labour Alternative, People Before Profit, Sinn Féin, independents like Claire Sugden, who would have been championing that, and they all support bringing in this law, the coercive control law, domestic violence disclosure scheme, protecting those services from cuts to funding, and embedding tackling domestic and sexual violence in the work of government.
Brilliant.
So
that's great.
it's very positive, but again, you know, it's a matter of how that's done and what happens when after March 2nd happens, because there was also a recognition that parties can say, yes, we support this, but if there's no mechanism for them to bring legislation through, if we don't have a working assembly and a working executive, then, you know, are we left in limbo? And from our perspective, you know, women who are victims of domestic violence don't have a whole lot of time. They, you know, this could improve women's lives now, so, you know, the question remains as to just how that will work out.
Yeah, and when we were at the meetings, you were obviously trying to imprint the sense of urgency on everyone that was meeting with us, and it was good to hear all the parties come back and say whatever options are open to them after the elections, they will do everything they can to support the fastest possible progress of that good work that, as you said, was developed in the last mandate.
So that was a big positive,
yeah.
I have to say.
So
yes,
slightly trickier.
Our fourth issue is abortion, and I suppose that would be probably one of the most contentious of issues, probably not just in terms of women, women's sector, but across all of politics. It's one of the biggies.
So. I was interested in quite a lot of our meetings. The parties brought it up first. It was almost as if they saw us coming and went, women, we're going to want to talk about abortion.
Yeah.
And it has been discussed in a lot of the media debates, and I think we know by now where most of the parties stand.
Yes.
Who has a particular party whip on it, who has a conscience vote. What we had done in our paper was present it to the parties as an issue of inequality and social justice, and not necessarily about the issue of choice for to choose or not to choose in a sort of abstract way. What we were saying was the current legal framework is upholding an inequality for women who don't have access to money. So we have a system whereby women who can afford it can travel and make safe legal choices across the water, and women who don't have that financial background are increasingly the ones who are in desperation at times going down the route of risky illegal options. And at one of our meetings, one of our team who was there actually said it's the criminalisation of poverty. And so that's what we wanted to put to the parties was, are you content to let this be the status quo, or if you believe in tackling inequality, do you not think you should be doing something about this, whatever you think that looks like? So to be honest, in our meetings we didn't hear anything other than the standard line that that we've heard from the parties across the board. We did hear a lot of people sort of empathising with women in those situations, but no change really on where different policies would be. And it is the one where they diverge the most. We've got everything in our meetings from full decriminalisation of abortion, free, safe, legal, it should be a healthcare issue, right through to reluctance to liberalise the law in any way, and everything in between. So I think we had to keep it in there because of the social inequality, and also it came under our sort of second demand, which is about the fact that women in pregnancy and as carers and all the rest experience a lot of economic disadvantage, and that issue is part of it. So I think it was really useful that we did have those conversations, and maybe they heard a different slant on it from us than they're used to hearing when they are on the Nolan show or whatever.
I think as well it's interesting that we are in a time where people do talk about it, because it wasn't that long ago that it was something that really, it would even have been a political hot potato to even talk about. But then I suppose, the likes of discussions that have been had around fetal abnormality and things like that have really brought it out into the open in terms of discussion. And and I think conversation, regardless of the issue, regardless of the stance, can't be a bad thing for democracy. So
completely. And we did put an extra question to them, because it came up in the first meeting, and we decided to just run with it for all the meetings, because we're aware that Claire Bailey of the Green Party in the last mandate started the process of a private member's bill that would be creating buffer zones around sexual health clinics, so that people using them couldn't be harassed by protesters.
It was quite an interesting dynamic in terms of talking about that as well, because it wasn't necessarily a conversation that we were having with parties about abortion per se. It was about the harassment of people accessing health services, because as we know, a lot of those facilities, they're giving contraception advice, they're giving family planning advice, women's health, a wide range of services. And actually there was much less ambiguity and much less diversity of opinion about this, because it was actually seen more as a law and order issue, an anti-harassment issue, a privacy issue, a public safety issue, and there was a lot more support, I think, for that idea. Now, we didn't necessarily have people saying, yes, my party is going to commit to this, but certainly people were saying, my party will look at that and will take on board those arguments and the fact that we don't want people being harassed in the street, because that is a law and order issue.
Yeah, all the representatives we spoke to said they personally would like to see that progress, but they did acknowledge, a few of them, that the party hasn't had a chance to look at it yet, so they wouldn't be necessarily speaking on behalf of the party in that, but it was very promising.
I suppose it's a very new issue, because Claire Bailey's consultation, I think, was launched the day before the Assembly closed up shop. So of course parties haven't all had a chance to really discuss this issue and really tease it out, but it was an interesting conversation nonetheless.
Yeah. One last one then is partnership working.
Yes, so I suppose this would be, government and politicians and agencies working in partnership with the women's sector, who do provide a lot of, frontline services. Obviously, from Women's Aid, we provide refuges and outreach services to women and children suffering domestic violence. Our helpline supports women and men affected by domestic and sexual violence. And then, other people who are at the meetings have represented women's centres who deliver, well, what do they not deliver?
Holistic support to women and communities and their children.
Yeah, and I think there was, again, a lot of support and a lot of recognition of the work that the women's sector does. I suppose, again, where things got a bit fuzzy was how that would work and, how they would support partnership working. And again, it's where money comes in that people kind of get a bit vague.
Yeah, completely. We did hear a few good ideas when we were doing the rounds things that I'll definitely be taking away and following up, coming back to this issue again after the election. For example, we heard about the problem there's been with some kind of, should we call them ministerial pet projects, where instead of real partnership working that is embedded, that has a broad-based impact, you get sort of maybe one or two little kind of pilot schemes that only actually engage a couple of organisations.
And it never becomes regionally broadened out.
Exactly. So we had some people talk about how they'd like to see a change to that. And I suppose generally there was a sense again with this one that, nobody knows what's coming down the line. The budget is going to be a big issue. But we certainly had a lot of passion from the participants in the room with the Time to Commit to Women team, because there were people sitting there who were going, all of our staff, including myself, not me, but them, they were all saying, we're all on protective notice, this is the way it's been for years and years, and we can't do this anymore. And there is a real sense within the women's movement that those services have been taken for granted. They're not given the same credit as statutory services are. If that service collapses, all those service users are left high and dry. And if they're vital services, as all these political parties say they are, then they should be working with them to make them more sustainable.
And at the end of the day, if those things collapse, or if you have, I think one very good point was made, that if you have year budgets and permanently unstable working environments, you basically get people who are real experts in this then thinking, well, I have to go and find a job elsewhere. So you get a brain drain from our own sector of those people who, and what we want to do is we want to keep the people who are really good at this, who are really good at running these services, keep them doing that, because ultimately if the statutory sector ran the same things, it would cost a lot more money to do that. We're very good bang for your buck in the women's sector, so I think there was recognition of that. There just wasn't, I suppose, the ability to come forward with any concrete commitments, because we just don't know what's going to happen politically.
Yeah, and I think to be fair to them, when we first wrote this document with 3 key demands, we were not anticipating an election. We were anticipating we'd be taking this to ministers with budgets assigned to their departments who could actually make decisions on these things. So what we need to do with that one, I think, is come back to it after the election.
And we will come back to it.
Oh, we will. Well, listen, Louise, thanks very much for your time. All we want to say now is go out and vote. There's still time to contact your candidates directly if you want to explore any of these issues further with them, or go on the blog, which is commit.wordpress.com, if you want to read a summary of all the interviews in full. And thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.